Turning now to our brand new NBC News poll, national political correspondent Steve Kornacki is here to walk us through all of the numbers. Steve, this is the moment we have been waiting for. What does this poll show us?
Yeah, I mean, fittingly, isn't it? At the very end, we find a tie nationally. 49% for Harris, 49% for Trump. Really, that's what we found when we last polled this a couple weeks ago. We go under the hood here and look at some of the other numbers there. There's this question of enthusiasm. A couple notable things here. This is the share of voters who are calling themselves very interested in this election. You can see it stands at 77%, which is down from 2020 when we had that historic turnout. Also, interestingly here, the interest is lower among Hispanic voters and black voters. Typically, you would say that is bad news for Democrats. But this year, keep in mind, among black voters, that could be very troubling for the Democrats. But among Hispanic voters, the Trump folks are hoping for big strides. They've been seeing that in the polls. If that does not translate into Election Day votes, that could be trouble for them. Then we come to the issues that voters say that matter most to them and how they rate the candidates. And I think, again, notably, Harris continues to do best on abortion, 20-point advantage there. Trump continues to do best on inflation, cost of living, an advantage there of 12.
This is something to watch on Election Day because, of course, she's actually doing better on abortion than Trump is doing on inflation and cost of living. We'll have to see how that pans out with the voters.
Absolutely. And we can continue and take a look here. This other issue, we've talked about it in our last poll, too, the dueling approval ratings. This is sort of an albatross for Harris here. Her administration that she's a part of, Joe Biden's approval rating sits at just 41%. And then there's this twist. Donald Trump, retrospectively, do you now approve of how he did as president? In our poll, 48%, almost half, give him that approval rating.
And we have to pause again because 48% is higher than the approval ratings he was getting when he was president, Steve. Really striking to see that.
Exactly. So is that a hidden advantage there for Trump in some way? Then there's this question, too. We just hear all the stories, all the images from early voting. And look at this. 2/3 of voters in our poll say they've either voted already or they're going to vote early. On Election Day, 1/3 of the electorate actually saying they will turn out and vote then. And you can see, we saw a bit of this in 2020, remember, the early vote here, more Harris-friendly in our poll. That Election Day vote, that's the big wild card. You don't know what that turnout will look like on Election Day. But if Trump has an advantage there, see if it's enough to overcome what he could potentially lose in the early side. And then the gender gap. Again, we've talked about this throughout the campaign. We've talked about this for decades. Trump up 18 with men, Harris 16 with women. That is a 34-point gender gap by about 10 points. If this happens, this would be the biggest gender gap ever recorded.
Stunning. And his lead with men bigger than her lead with women.
It's an interesting turnabout from I think what we've seen in the past in some cases here. And then you could just take a look here. These are the battleground states. We got some new polls this morning. And I mean, what can you say? These are the averages. And look, the most lopsided, quote unquote, 1.9 points for Trump in Arizona. So razor thin in the battlegrounds.
Yes.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.